What about a suspect that says, I have no involvement, but yes, I was there. I was there. What if you have him on tape at a BP, crystal clear, wearing distinctive clothes, and he's not denying he's there?
And we are back, Thank you for watching today's video. Go ahead and hit that like button, y'all. You know, I'm disappointed with the number of likes, y'all. You're watching this, hit the like button. It's the least you can do. Now, y'all, listen, today we are going to get into a classic Schardt cook session. Chef Schardt, he is in full effect today. Y'all, I'm a fan out real quick. I'm going to be a fanboy real quick. I don't care. I'm going to admit it. Schardt is my favorite of the YSL lawyers. There's so many great characters, so many great personalities, so many great people who are doing this. But Schardt, he's number one for me, man. This guy just has it all. So, and you're going to see that today. Now, we're going to hop right into this video. We're going to start off with Adkins so we can lay the foundation. So you'll see what you're going to be watching here. And then we're going to get into Schardt after that on his cross-examination. And they're going to be kind of going back and forth. It's really, really riveting the way that this is going to unfold. Real quick, y'all, you know, we are a paralegal school. We can't make you into Max Schardt, but we can help you get into the paralegal field. So if you want to work in the legal field, let us know. We will get you enrolled in our paralegal certificate program with an internship where you work with a real attorney. It can be virtual or in person, and we can help you get going. So other than that, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get right into the video.
All right, y'all go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Detective Liam Packer, did you have the opportunity on March 17th of 2022 to participate in a search warrant at 2830 Waters Road?
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury how you got involved in that search warrant?
Well, I mentioned just a moment ago that I know Investigator Viverito. I've worked with her a lot over the years. She's been in a few different roles, and I've worked with her in each of those capacities with the different agencies that she's worked with, including when the search warrant was obtained and to be executed. So she asked for my assistance to execute the search warrant, and that's why I participated.
Now, when you got there, was it daylight or nighttime?
It was daylight.
And was there other units within APD that were there for the search?
Yes.
What were some of those units?
The SWAT team, our intelligence unit, I think some gang unit investigators, and myself and I believe my sergeant and our homicide unit, Ray Layton, were there, and our crime scene technician.
Now, you personally, when you go to scenes or work cases, do you take any photographic or video evidence yourself?
Sometimes.
And what do you use for that?
Usually a city-issued cell phone to photograph or video a walkthrough of the area.
And did you do that in this case?
Yes.
Now, Your Honor, I am approaching with what's been marked as 336 Victor. Detective Liam Packer, before testifying here today, have you had a chance to review that medium I gave you?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what that is?
336 VV, State's Exhibit, contains all the photographs and videos that I took while I was out there on Waters Road.
And I'm also going to approach you, Detective Liam Packer, with what's been marked as State's Exhibits 316 Victor through. Are those photographs that you took the scene that day?
Yes, and at least one photograph is, I believe I took when I was back at Atlanta Police Headquarters after packaging some of the evidence, and I photographed the packaging of it.
Your Honor, at this time the state moves to tender into evidence 316 Victor through 335, as well as 336 Victor, the USB.
All right, those are admitted, and also you tendered, but then we broke, and I don't think I admitted on the record 227 Victor 1 and 2. Those are also admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to publish 336 Victor Victor. Now, is this the location that you were at, Detective Lean Packer, on March 17, 2022?
Yes.
And when you do document search warrants or scenes that you walk through, do you kind of take an overview of the location?
Yes.
And is this you walking to the mailbox to document the address for this search?
Yes.
Now, had SWAT already cleared the residence by the time that you started searching?
Yes.
And when I'm going to publish another portion of State's Exhibit 336, Victor Victor. Was there a Audi that you see in this clip when you got there?
Yes.
Now, do you typically try to capture the VIN number of vehicles that are on scenes?
Usually.
Can you tell the jury how were law enforcement officers able to get in this Audi vehicle?
You can see on the left there at the door, there's a coat hanger. The window was ajar, and investigators used a coat hanger to tug on the door handle to open the vehicle and access the interior of it.
Now, was there a firearm in that car?
Yes, on the passenger floorboard, protruding up into there's me. The passenger floorboard, the firearm was laying down on the floorboard and leaning against the passenger seat.
Now, after documenting the firearm inside of the vehicle, did you ever pull it out of the vehicle to examine it closer?
Yes.
I am going to publish 318 Victor Victor. Is that a picture of the firearm in the passenger seat where you found it?
Yes.
And what type of firearm was it?
This was a Ruger AR 5.56. It takes 5.56 caliber ammunition.
And I'm going to publish another portion of 336 Victor Victor. Do you see on the screen before I start this magazine and a firearm on the roof of the car?
Yes, that is the magazine that was inserted into the weapon when it was recovered.
Now, I'm going to play this first and ask you, is that cartridge you saw on the purple glove something that you had to get out of? Was that in the chamber or in the firearm when you examined it?
Best I recall, I could review my notes for it to refresh my recollection, but best I recall, yes, it was loaded with one round chambered, and it had to be cleared to extract that round from the chamber.
If I approached you with a copy of your incident report, would that help refresh your memory?
Yes. I've refreshed my recollection about what I wrote in the incident report.
And what do you recall about that piece of ammunition?
My recollection's unchanged, that it was loaded with one round in the chamber, but I did not specifically note in my incident report that that round was chambered. But you can see the magazines are loaded, and the one round out would have been the round that we cleared from the firearm, and that's what I recall about the condition of that firearm when it was collected.
Now, I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to show you from this clip. Can you describe for the jury what is that, 2 magazines, and can you describe like what that was and with the tape and the different magazines?
Well, there's 2 magazines that are designed to fit that weapon, that AR, and they're taped together facing opposite directions. So if one were to insert the magazine and fire enough rounds to use all of the ammunition in that one magazine, one could then pull the magazine out, flip it over, reinsert it, and get back in battery and begin shooting additional rounds without having to drop a magazine, retrieve an additional magazine from an alternate location, and then load it in. It's taped together so it makes a quick extract, turn over, reload, and then the firearm would be ready to fire again.
Now, did you also collect this firearm that day?
I did.
Now, I am approaching with what is marked as 223 Victor Victor. And oh, actually, one brief second. With this specific firearm, did you do any research with this and contact any other law enforcement entities?
I did.
Can you describe for the jury what you did in relation to this firearm?
Is it permissible to talk about the results of inquiries I made on the firearm?
Yes.
Okay. So I checked the serial number of the firearm in the same way we would run a license plate to see if a car was stolen. We can run serial numbers of articles and firearms to see if they have been reported stolen. And what I found was this firearm was reported stolen while in transit from a Ruger manufacturer in North Carolina while it was en route, I believe via UPS, to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, somewhere between origin and destination. It was stolen in this essentially cargo theft from UPS. And so it was recovered when I wrote the report for it. The ATF investigates firearms stolen while in transit, and I communicated with an agent of the ATF who then recovered the firearm at a later time. Now,
Ultimately, did the ATF ever come or get in possession of that firearm?
Yes. Yeah, I made arrangements to ensure that the firearm, after being test fired for examination purposes and testing purposes, was then released into the custody of that ATF agent so he could continue his investigation.
Now, Detective Liam Packer, I'm going to publish 319 Victor Victor. Is this another photograph of that same firearm?
Yes.
I'm going to publish 320 Victor Victor. Is this a close-up where the trigger mechanism would be?
Yes.
And 323 Victor Victor. Is this another photograph of those taped magazines in the gun?
Yes.
Now, did you find any other items in that vehicle that you documented that day?
Yes.
What did you find?
There was a pink colored wool cap, I believe, in the back seat.
Did you collect that item?
Yes.
I'm approaching you with what's marked as 340 Victor Victor. And Detective Liam Packer, when you collect items at a scene, are you familiar with how APD property evidence labels and case numbers are for pieces of evidence?
Yes.
And is there any identifying features on that? And if you need to open it, you by all means can. That helps you know what is inside of it.
Well, I packaged this item and sealed it. My initials were on the original evidence seal. And I also wrote on there that it was a pink wool cap recovered from the Audi. And in the evidence label that I created, I labeled it as the brand Time and True pink wool cap. So at the time that I packaged it in this evidence envelope, it was a pink wool cap.
Your Honor, the state moves to tender into evidence 340 Victor Victor. Oh. And this...
I have an objection. Is 340 the firearm or the envelope there?
It is the envelope with the pink wool cap.
Objection, relevance 403.
Overruled.
And be clear, this the vehicle where officers put the coat hanger inside of it, is this the Audi we're talking about where you found this pink wool cap?
Yes.
That first vehicle, if you were to enter the property on kind of the right-hand side of the yard. I'll go back to 3. 18 Victor Victor. Is this the vehicle that you found that pink wool cap?
Yes.
Did you also find any temporary tags or license plates in that vehicle?
Yes. Multiple.
I am going to publish 324 Victor Victor. Are these some of the temporary plates that you found?
Yes.
And did you ever find a driver's license or identification in that car?
I did.
I'm going to publish 325 Victor Victor. Who was the individual's name that you found?
Eric Jerome Moore.
I'm going to publish 326 Victor Victor. Did you find some other registration paperwork for that vehicle
Yes.
with the same individual's name?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to publish another portion of, and is this the pink wool cap that you were just discussing?
Yes. And I've looked inside the envelope, which is open, and I can see it's the same pink wool cap.
I'm going to publish another portion of State's Exhibit 336, Victor Victor. And just to be clear, this is the video footage that you personally recorded that day. Is that fair?
Yes.
And to the right, that's depicted on the screen, is the vehicle we were just discussing.
Yes.
Did you find any other firearms in the yard that day?
Yes. Approaching this Jeep vehicle, on the ground there was this firearm with a drum magazine.
Is the circular item the drum magazine?
Yes.
Is that increase the capacity of rounds that it can hold?
Yes, the drum magazine is a high capacity ammunition magazine that loads rounds or cartridges in a circular motion. And as rounds feed into the firearm, they continue loading a round in that circular motion to feed into the firearm. So it's just a high capacity magazine.
Now, Detective Leanpacker, I am approaching you now with what's marked as 223 Victor Victor. And I wanted to ask you if you're able to recognize that before you.
Is it okay to go ahead and open it up?
It is.
Yes.
And what is that item?
It's the firearm that was just depicted in the video, and it's a AK M10762P firearm, and the drum magazine that was there as well.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to tender into evidence what is marked as State's Exhibit 223, Victor Victor.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance in 403. Has nothing to
We may need
do with
to
this case.
Your Honor,
check that up.
I object to the speaking objections, and I can explain relevance outside
All
the
right.
presence of the jury.
Come on up.
So, Detective Leanpacker, this is the firearm we were just discussing with the drum magazine that we see in the yard of 2830 Waters Road.
Yes, still covered with the same dirt.
Do you know if it rained the night prior?
I don't recall.
Now, I am going to I'm going to publish 328 Victor Victor. Is this the firearm that we were just discussing?
Yes.
I'm going to publish 329 Victor Victor. And with this specific type of magazine, do you see how the ammunition at the very end to the right? Does it keep feeding into it until all rounds are discharged or something else?
Until all rounds are discharged, or whoever's operating it stops shooting, as long as there's still rounds left. But yes, that's how it feeds, and that it's loaded in that circular motion and feeds up through the magazine into the firearm.
Now, you had mentioned that Jeep Liberty that we saw in that video.
Yes.
Was there any defects in that car or anything of note in that blue Jeep Liberty?
Yes.
What did you see?
On the driver's door, there appeared to be what we often say in homicide cases, we don't know what caused it, but it's a defect consistent with gunfire. It looked like a bullet hole in the door.
Now, I am about to publish, before I do another portion of 336 Victor Victor, what part of the house is this frame right here?
This is the rear of the house.
And is that a stairwell in the rear that you see in this photograph?
There's a set of stairs that leads up, and then there's an open door in the back.
And did you ever go and explore or examine the basement level of this residence?
Yes.
I'm going to publish this next portion of 336 Victor Victor now. And is this opening that you are walking towards the basement of the home?
Yes.
Was there another stairwell inside of the basement?
There's stairs, yes.
Were you able to get inside the home from those stairwells?
No. No, it's closed off. It's like wood that's like nailed shut, so it did not permit access from the basement level into the house.
Now, when you looked in the ceiling in this basement, was there any openings that were in the basement?
Yes.
And do you know where that went?
Into the house level above, but I don't recall which room it was.
Now, ultimately, did you go and conduct a search of the house inside the home?
Yes.
I am publishing 336 Victor Victor, another portion. But before I do, what is that? Let me ask you this. If you were to walk in the front door, do you know where we are in the house with this photograph right now?
Yes, if you walk in the front door, just to the left, there was a television, a large television, a flat panel TV, and yeah, there's some wires hanging down there.
I am publishing this next portion of 336 Victor Victor. Did you ever find or see any device that normally would be plugged into those when you were searching there at that time?
Yes and no. I did see at least one camera on the front porch that had a light illuminating from it, indicating the camera had power. And I believe these wires to terminate to that camera, because I was essentially trying to follow what are these cameras plugged into. And then so that on one end, I expect that one of these wires was plugged into at least that camera. On this end, no. You see those wires, they said to DVR, which I would expect to be a video recording system, a digital video recording system that would capture surveillance video from any cameras that terminated at the end of those wires. And these wires dangling there suggested there may have been one, but there was none there when I was there.
Now, Detective William Packer, I'm going to play briefly this last portion of the video, the portion of 336 Victor Victor. Was there a bedroom nearby where these cords were.
Yes.
And after looking at the cords, did you ever go into that bedroom?
Yes.
And did you ever look in the closet in that bedroom?
Yes.
And in just a second, that right there, did you see that in the floorboard?
Yes.
What is that?
It's a void in the floor.
And do you know, did that go down, if you know, to the basement?
As I recall, yes, that was the hole in the floor that led to the basement. Or that, I should say, opened up to the basement. I want to say led as if one would navigate through that hole to get down there.
That's fair enough. Now, I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as 163 Victor Victor. Did you ever see this item when you were in the house on March 17, 2022?
No.
I am going to publish the next video portion of 336 Victor Victor. Can you describe for the jury before I play it what you see here and what you found?
This is a plate carrier vest. It's a bit like the tactical vest I wear when I'm in uniform for APD. It has an insert inside of it. When you purchase it, it typically doesn't have an insert, but it's made to have an insert that's body armor. I'd say bullet-resistant vests that we wear for law enforcement and that military often wears.
And did you, search through this body armor?
I did.
Did it have, if you recall, what type of, in general, plate? Was it hard, soft, or some?
It was hard. The body armor that I have for my Atlanta police uniform is soft and flexible. This one was extremely heavy and hard, which would indicate to me it's a different level of body armor than the one that I wear for APD.
And was there any other cases found nearby the body armor?
Yes. There's a gun case or a rifle case.
Now, I wanted to ask you, did you ever find any firearms inside of the house?
Yes.
Where did you find it?
In a bedroom closet on the top shelf, there was a pistol.
I'm going to publish the next portion of 336 Victor Victor. Is this the inside of the home?
Yes.
And you had mentioned a top shelf where you found a firearm. Is this what you were discussing?
Yes.
Did you collect that firearm?
Yes. Ultimately, a crime scene technician took it away from the scene, but I participated in the collection of the item.
Now, I'm going to approach you with what has been marked as 222 Victor Victor. Do you recognize that item?
I do.
What is that item?
It's the Taurus pistol that was on the top shelf here.
And was that firearm loaded? And if you need...
I don't recall. It's got a magazine inside of it, but I think that the full processing of it was done by the crime scene technician.
That's fair. I'm publishing 317 Victor Victor. Is this the firearm we were just discussing?
Yes.
And 330 Victor Victor, is this another photograph of that firearm?
Yes.
Now, did you ever go up into the attic of that home?
I did.
How did you get up to the attic, if you recall?
I don't recall if there was a pull down stairs or a scuttle hole. I don't recall.
Now, before I play this next portion of 336 Victor Victor, is this the attic area of the home?
Yes.
And did you find anything up in the attic?
Yes.
What did you find?
There was a bucket full of ammunition various calibers.
Now, I'm first going to approach you with this bag, and then I'm going to bring over 225 Victor. And I'm going to set it down by your feet and ask you if you recognize that item.
Yes,
What is that?
that's the bucket of ammunition that was recovered from the attic.
And at some point, was that bucket inside of that bag that now has a hole in it?
Yes, the the bucket was packaged by a crime scene technician who misspelled my name, but it's on there nonetheless. And yes, that's the bucket that was inside the residence.
Can you explain for the jury, and feel free, well, Your Honor, at first the state's going to tender 225 Victor into evidence.
To admit it.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Detective Lee Packer, feel free to examine 225 Victor. What kind of ammo was in this bucket in the attic?
5.56 ammunition. There's a full box. 223 ammunition. Large ammunition, typically used with rifles. And the 5.56 are the green tip ammunition, much like the ones that were loaded into that stolen rifle, had green tips as well. The two magazines taped to each other. Only 4 popped out, so excuse me. You did say feel free to examine it.
Thank you, Detective Lee Packer. Is there any other items inside 225 Victor?
And this is a ammunition box. When ammunition is sold in large quantities, it often will come in a large box, and it's labeled 9mm Luger. Which contains a Glock magazine for a semi-automatic pistol, a magazine for some type of rifle, semi-automatic pistol, which appears to, that's a 5.7 by 28 caliber, and an ammunition loader, which is used to quickly reload magazines with ammunition. And it's got one cartridge loaded inside of it.
Thank you, Detective Lee Packer. I'm going to help you when you get that back, move that bucket to the side.
There's more.
There's more. Keep going, Detective Lee Packer. What else is inside?
Another box of 223 ammunition. That's pretty full. It's okay, I will open that one. Plastic sandwich bags. Another box that's pretty full of 5.56 ammunition. A digital scale. 5.7 by 28 ammunition. A box for an FN 5.7 pistol magazine. Another box of 5.7 by 28 millimeter ammunition. An evidence bag with test bullets and cartridge cases from laboratory testing of the firearms. Another box of 5.7 by 28 ammunition. Some loose bag packaged ammunition, and a small sack of marijuana. Well, what I suspect to be marijuana. Without testing, I wouldn't know.
Thank you.
Yes. And I did not. I returned the marijuana back to the bucket.
Let the record so reflect.
Thank you.
And, Your Honor, I don't believe that I formally tendered 222 Victor Victor into evidence, but the state would move to tender 222 Victor Victor at this time.
Admitted.
Is the firearm. Now, Detective Leanpacker, I'm going to help make a little bit of room for you.
Is that a different firearm than 223 was?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Did you ever collect, Detective Leanpacker, any items of clothing in that house?
Yes.
What did you collect?
A T-shirt that was found in a bin inside the house, a plastic bin.
I am approaching you with what's been marked as 226 Victor Victor. Ask you if you recognize or see that item.
Yes.
Is that the piece of clothing that you were describing?
Yes.
And I'm going to publish 332 Victor Victor. What did that piece of clothing say?
The front of it had a print on it that read slime, and then in quotation marks it read slime. Its adjective is listed below that, and then it says, 1, can't be trusted, a repulsive or despicable person, wipe your effing nose. I'll just say F asterisk asterisk ing. So wipe your effing nose, and then is you slime enough?
Did you ever examine the front yard for any possible shell casings or cartridges?
I did.
I'm going to publish another portion of State's Exhibit 336 Victor Victor at this time. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at as this plays in terms of right here?
This is a portion of the front yard near those Herbie Kirby cans where I recovered 2 cartridge cases of different caliber.
And is that the first cartridge that you recovered?
Yes.
Is there a second cartridge case that you recovered?
Yes.
Is this documenting that second cartridge case that you recovered?
Yes. The first one was a 5.7 by 28 millimeter, much like the ammunition that was in that bucket. And the other one was a 223 Remington ammunition.
And did you package those items or help them get transported back to APD?
I did. I packaged them and then photographed the packaging, which I referenced earlier.
Is publishing 334 Victor Victor, are these cartridges that we just were discussing?
Yes.
Another picture of them at 335, and
Yes.
then 316 Victor Victor, is that the packaging that you just discussed?
Yes.
I'm approaching you with what's been marked as 224 Victor Victor. Do you recognize that, Detective Leanpacker?
Yes.
Is that, or what is that, I should ask you?
These are those 2 cartridge cases packed as I packaged them. And initially I sealed it, and my initials were on the evidence seal before it was submitted to the crime lab for additional testing, which is that additional seal on there.
Your Honor, the state moves to tender into evidence 224 Victor Victor at this time.
Okay, it's admitted.
And Detective Leanpacker, was there a vehicle parked very close to the front door of that house?
Yes.
Can you describe for the jury what you saw in relation to that vehicle?
That vehicle was a 2011 Chevy Malibu, and it had significant damage from gunfire. There was gunfire. The First off, I should say I believe it was the front passenger tire was flat. And then there was gunfire, I think, through the window, through the fender, through the pillar, like on the back. We'd call it the C pillar, it's the rear driver's side pillar. So there was just damage from gunfire in the car. And then there was damage behind it as well on portions of the residence, the facade of the residence. It seemed to line up with the where the defects were to the car, as rounds may have traveled through the vehicle and into the house.
Was there any cell phones on scene that were collected?
Yes.
Do you know how many?
As I recall, I think 5, and I can refresh my recollection.
But if looking at a copy of your report would refresh recollection,
Yes.
please do.
Yes. My recollection is refreshed.
It was 5?
Yes.
Now, I am going to, or let me ask you this. In total, in your time working for Atlanta Police Department Homicide, do you get familiar with different parts of the city?
Yes.
And have you, in your career, had cases or had to go to various parts of Atlanta?
Yes.
I'm going to approach you with what is marked as 344 Victor Victor through 347, and then 350 through 353, as well as 216, all Victor Victor.
May I see those
Yes,
first?
you may.
Can you read those numbers again for me, too?
Yes, Your Honor. And to make it, yes, yes, Your Honor.
I think I got them.
brief moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Your Honor, it is 344 through 353 minus 348 and 349, if that makes it easier for the court. So, and I'm not admitting 216.
350 through 353, and you're not tendering 316.
216, Your Honor, not tendering 216. So it's 344 through 347, Your Honor, and 350 through 353.
All right, those are admitted, and did you tender for admission 226, the shirt?
Your Honor, I believe that I did, but to be clear, the state would move the tender into the record 226 Victor Victor
Okay.
at this time.
All of those are admitted.
No objection, and no objection to 344 to 353 minus the 2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schardt. Detective Leanpacker, before testifying, did you have an opportunity to look over some of these photographs?
Yes.
And with the photographs before you, do you recognize them?
Yes.
And are they a fair and accurate depiction of the locations in Atlanta that they depict?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state moves to tender into evidence those items.
Okay.
I hadn't shown them to Detective Leanpacker, Your Honor, before we admitted
These
them.
are the ones okay.
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes,
Thank you.
they're admitted.
So, Detective Leanpacker, I'm going to publish 344 Victor Victor. One brief moment, Your Honor. It should come up on the screen here momentarily. Where is this area, Detective Leanpacker?
That's I believe it's 464 Windsor Street. It's at the corner of Windsor and Fulton, the northeast corner.
Is it near I-20?
Yes.
I'm going to publish 345 Victor Victor. Is this another photograph of that same location?
Yes.
I'm going to publish 346 Victor Victor. Is this the inside of that BP gas station?
Yes.
I'm going to publish 347 Victor Victor. What is this?
It's the liquor store that's next door to it. It's kind of attached.
I'm going to publish 350 Victor Victor. Do you recognize where this area is?
Yes, that appears to be Windsor Street, orientated looking northbound. So if you were to come out of that BP gas station, again, which is at Fulton and Windsor, go north on Windsor, you're looking north towards I-20.
And I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 351 Victor Victor.
It's a closer image of
the
Windsor and
intersection?
I-20. Yes.
I'm going to go to 353. 352 Victor Victor.
Yep. Same intersection.
Now, Detective Leanpacker, if you were to leave that BP, go to that intersection and get on I-20 West, would you ever hit the perimeter?
Yes.
And what highway or would you cross over, intersect if you kept going down I-20 West?
If you go I-20 West, you would eventually hit Interstate 285, the perimeter. That's in the Adamsville neighborhood of Atlanta. And then if you keep going I-20 West, another major roadway you hit just after you pass over 285 is Fulton Industrial Boulevard.
Thank you, Detective Leanpacker. One brief moment. Detective Leanpacker, I'm going to publish 353 Victor Victor. And that's a Scribner's error, Your Honor. It shows 253, but that's what has been admitted as 353. Is this also what you were just describing, Detective Leanpacker, with I-20 near Windsor?
Yes. Yeah, a different perspective, but yes.
I'm going to go back to 164 Victor Victor. Or I'm going to go back to 164 Victor Victor. Detective Leanpacker, do you see that TV that has TCL Roku TV on it?
Yes.
Was that TV in 2830 Waters Road on March 17th when you did the search?
Yes.
And do you see on this photograph like a table or some kind of setup on the right-hand side of this photograph?
Yes.
Do you see any cords that resemble or appear to be ones that you saw on March 17th?
Yes.
And the screen that appears to be mounted on the back of the wall, was that or was that not present?
It was not present.
I'm going to go back to 252. It should come up on the screen in just a minute. And if you were heading north from that BP gas station at 464 Windsor and we're trying to get on I-20 West, where's the rampway that you would get on?
You go underneath the Interstate 20 and then go west from there. Yeah. You'd have to go past the interstate then to go west.
Okay. Thank you. Or I'll publish 253. What is really, yep. So is this what you were discussing?
Yes. That's the westbound ramp. So this perspective is looking south along Windsor Street. And that roadway that goes at the right edge, that would be heading west on I-20 there.
Thank you, Detective Leanpacker. Your Honor, no further questions at this time by the state.
All right. I assume y'all are going to have cross. Is it going to be like 30 minutes? All right. Y'all want to just go ahead and get this finished before we break for lunch? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Detective Leanpacker, good afternoon now.
Good afternoon.
Max Schardt, we've met before, but Max Schardt, I represent Shannon Stillwell, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. I just want to ask you first about what we talked about first in direct, talking about the downloads of the phone. We talked about you were able to find searches on a phone that you download or extract the data from, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I should say I didn't find searches because I didn't sift through the data, but I'm aware of there being some links associated with searches.
So let me get this clear. You extracted information from several phones, including my client's phones, but you did not review any of the downloaded information.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know who reviewed the downloaded information?
I provided all of the extractions to investigator Marissa Viverito, who I believe conducted thorough reviews of the data.
Okay. Now, it seems to me that your role now in law enforcement focuses a lot on cell phones, correct?
Yes and no. I actually, in my role now with the FBI, I expect that I'll be spending a lot more time working with cell phone records from providers and less time working in mobile device forensics. So I'm transitioning now. But yes, over the past several years, I've been working a lot with mobile device forensics.
You were once a homicide investigator, though, correct?
Up until about 3 weeks ago, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, as a homicide investigator, if you see a search in a phone, is there some information you'd want to know? Let me back that up. You would want to know when that search was made, correct?
Yes.
And now let me be clear, because on direct, you did say a few things. It could be when a search shows up with keywords, it could be someone clicking on a link sent by someone else, right?
Yes.
It could be someone searching in their phone themselves, correct?
Yes.
And it could be someone else utilizing a device, right? Just because it's someone's device doesn't mean they were the ones utilizing it at that time, correct?
Yes, I wouldn't count that as a third option because as a forensic examiner, I'd only be concerned about what the phone did. So no matter who's holding the phone when it did what it did, it's only one of the two, right? The phone navigated to a URL that resulted in search results from, say, Google, regardless of who's holding it.
Okay. Now, with all those qualifiers aside, as an investigator, if you saw search results in a phone of a person of interest, you would want to know what date that search was allegedly done, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You would want to know, if you were investigating a case with such a cell phone, you would want to know if on that date of that search, other people had already alerted the owner of the phone of the fact that something had occurred at an address, correct?
I would take that into consideration in my examination of the results, yes.
So, for instance, if the search was homicide or shooting, Smith Street, X Bell Street, corner of Smith and Bell, you would want to know if the person that owns this phone or may have been using this phone is just searching that on them by themselves with no prompting, or if someone else has already alerted them to a fact that a shooting had occurred at that address. That would be an important fact to know as an investigator, wouldn't it?
It would be an important consideration in how I reviewed the data, yes.
Okay, and you'd also want to know, if the person searched these terms, hours after an event or days after an event, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you'd want to know if there was press coverage about this event prior to the person searching.
Objection, Your Honor. The press conference relevance?
Press coverage.
Overruled.
Yes, and I'll add to explain my answer. It's not uncommon in cases of, I've worked homicides and I've been on our complex case squad in homicides. So I've worked a lot of violent crime cases, even those that haven't been homicides.
I'm going to object as non-responsive if we're going to get into what usually happens.
I'm going to let him explain his answer.
Okay, thank you.
And it's not uncommon that there is media coverage of violent crime incidents when I'm conducting an investigation into such an incident. And it's not uncommon for those searches to be related to that media coverage of that incident.
Right. Okay. So, but certainly there's a difference between someone, a suspect searching unknown keywords that no one else would know except them versus searching keywords after there's been media coverage, correct?
That's difficult for me to answer in the hypothetical because oftentimes as an investigator conducting this type of search of a forensic analysis of a phone, I don't know what someone knows about the incident or how many people know it, especially if it's an incident that I suspect multiple people were involved in.
Well, what if in that phone there was actual messages from other people alerting that person to the event? Would that give you insight as to whether they knew about the event?
The person conducting the search?
Yes. If other people had told them, texted them, sent them news articles in their phone.
Yes and no. Yes, and that it would give me insight that there's evidence in the phone of the person operating the phone likely receiving information in that text message that, hey, this incident occurred. But no, and that I've worked many homicide cases where I see people that that I did charge with participation in a murder that were receiving notifications from other people, hey, did you hear about this incident? So one may have nothing to do with the other, but one could have something to do with the other.
It could be important.
I would take it into consideration, yes. That absolutely be a part of my consideration in examining the phone.
As a homicide investigator, you would take it into consideration whether someone told the owner of the phone about specifics of that event before they typed in the keywords.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what ATL Scoop is?
Yes.
Okay, ATL Scoop gives updates or really quick news about events around Atlanta, correct?
Yes, largely the reposting of individual Instagram users' coverage of events around Atlanta. It's a big reposting site typically.
Did ATL Scoop, to your understanding and knowledge of this case, Shamal Drink's shooting, did ATL Scoop have updates being sent throughout Atlanta within hours of the shooting?
I don't know.
It's assuming facts.
Okay, well, he said he doesn't know anyway.
If you know.
I don't know. I honestly know very little about this case other than I worked next to the detective that was the lead detective, Al Hogan. But I know very little about the circumstances of this
Do you
case.
know if my client's girlfriend reached out to him within hours of the shooting just to check if he was okay and alerted to him about the shooting?
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation and assuming facts.
Sustained.
Do you know if my client's grandmother did the same?
Same objection.
Sustained.
Okay, so you didn't review the phone, so you don't know any of these answers that could add context to any searches.
From the phone or my knowledge of just being in the homicide unit next to the lead detective, no, I still don't know the answer.
Okay, great. Now, let's turn the page to the search warrant on 2830 Waters Road. Okay, is that okay? The execution of the search warrant.
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. Now that happened on. There was, to your understanding, there was a shooting in the morning hours, March 16th going into March 17th of 2022 at that address, correct?
Yes. Again, I know very little about the other shooting as well. I just went to assist in the execution of the search warrant, so I don't know very many case details about the other shooting, but it is my understanding that, yes, there was another shooting that was just before this incident.
And you observed holes in the house, you observed holes in vehicles that were parked in yard, etc., correct?
Yes.
All right. Do you know how many people were living at 2830 Waters Road at the time that you executed the search warrant?
No.
Do you know how many people frequent that address, were frequenting that address in March of 2022?
No, any evidence of that would have been on that video surveillance system that was no longer present when I executed the search warrant.
Do you know of who the registered owner of that address is?
No.
Okay. Now, I wanted to just clarify a few things about your direct testimony. First of all, Ms. Knight or Mr. Atkins, could you kindly display 318 Victor Victor? Now, what time did you execute this search warrant? Like when we saw that video that you made at 2830, what time of the day was that?
I don't recall, but I'll add that I often do, and I believe I may have in this case. When I start recording a video, I verbally say aloud the date and time that I begin the recording of the video. And I know that the audio is not included in this published version of this video, but I'd have to refer to that to tell you the exact
That's
time.
fine. Do you have an approximate time? I'm not going to hold. Okay, it's fine.
Sorry, I don't. Yeah.
Light hours.
Daylight, yes.
Okay. All right. You are aware that on March 17th, around the same time that you were conducting the search warrant at 2830 Waters Road, my client was being arrested at Meadowlark Drive in a white Taurus, a white Audi with Maryland plates with tinted windows. You're aware of that?
No.
Okay.
If I was back then, I don't have any recollection of it now because I wasn't involved in that investigation.
All right. Well, I want to be very clear about a few things. 318, okay, we see a blue car, correct?
You talking about the vehicle that's here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Blue car. It is an Audi.
Yes.
Okay. And you found various things in the car, and we're going to get to that in a second. You are not suggesting that this is the white Audi with tinted windows that was rented to Shannon Stillwell, are you?
I have no idea. I don't know anything about that.
Okay. All right. This pink hat, 323 Victor Victor, if you would, Miss Knight. Thank you. See that pink hat? And I think there's a better picture somewhere in here, but we're talking, and you have it in front of you.
Yes, it's right here.
Okay, that pink hat that's in that envelope. You aware that Mr. Stillwell was arrested on the same day in the white Audi wearing a pink hat?
No.
Okay. This pink hat would not have been something that you took from the scene and then somehow met up with Shannon Stillwell and gave it to him to wear for when he would be arrested, is it?
No.
Okay, so this is a completely separate pink hat. Isn't that correct?
I don't know when Mr. Stillwell was arrested or what the circumstances were, what time that was, if it was before or after the execution of this warrant. If I accept what you're telling me as fact, then sure, he was arrested before with a pink hat, but I don't know. I just know that this hat was recovered in this car on March 17th. I put it in this envelope, sealed it, and put my initials on it, and that's the last time I saw it before today.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that answers the question. Now, in this car, you also found a gun, a very large gun. And that's what's in front of you on that table, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of gun?
No, that's the gun that went back to the ATF.
You're right. Thank you
stolen
for that
firearm.
correction. And what type of gun was that?
That was it was a Ruger AR 5.56.
Okay. And that gun was found in this blue Audi And it was also inside the blue Audi was a license in the name of Eric Moore.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. And Eric Moore, did you investigate further into who Eric Moore was?
I believe I ran Eric Moore's driver's license at some point to identify who he was, but no, I didn't conduct any follow-up investigation into that aspect of the processing of this vehicle or its contents.
Okay. Miss Knight, if you could put up 319 Victor Victor, please. Okay. So that's the gun that was found in the blue Audi, correct?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any evidence that Mr. Stillwell's fingerprints are on that gun?
I don't physically have any evidence of that. I believe the gun was taken by the crime scene technicians for additional processing. The results of that I'm unfamiliar with.
Do you have any evidence that Mr. Stillwell's DNA is on that gun?
Not me. No, I believe the guns were processed for additional evidence, but to what extent and what those results are, I don't know. I don't have that evidence. I don't want to speak on behalf of the police department to say that the police department or the Georgia Bureau of Investigation does or does not. Kevin Leon Packard doesn't have DNA results.
Anyone that comes from the crime lab, I'm going to make sure I ask them the same questions. I'm just
Yes,
asking
sir.
you.
Yeah.
So you don't have any evidence that Mr. Stillwell has ever touched this gun?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. All right. And let me ask you this. This gun, are you aware that Mr. Drinks, deceased Mr. Drinks, from the 3/14/2022 shooting was shot with .40 caliber ammunition?
I'm unfamiliar with that.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Does this gun shoot .40 caliber ammunition?
No.
All right. Excellent. Miss Knight, if you could help me out and pull up 328 VV. Definitely further down. It's the second gun. No, up. There we go. Thank you. All right. This is the second gun that you collected at 2830 Waters Road, correct?
Yes.
And that was in the mud. This gun was in the mud by a Jeep Liberty.
Yes.
Okay. Did again, I'm going to ask you any DNA or fingerprints that you're aware of that link to Shannon Stillwell?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And how about that Jeep Liberty? Are you aware of any links that would link or connect Mr. Stillwell to that Jeep Liberty?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So, and let me ask you about what type of gun is this?
It's a 7.62, I believe. It's a Romarm Cougar 7.62. The model is M10-762P. It's an AK-47 type firearm with a drum magazine.
And it shoots 7.62 bullet or caliber bullets.
Yes.
Okay. It does not shoot 40 caliber bullets, does it?
Correct.
All right. Excellent. And Miss Knight, if you could 330 Victor Victor. Now, this gun was actually found in the house at 2830 Waters Road.
Yes.
Okay. And any DNA or fingerprints that you're aware of that link this gun to Shannon Stillwell?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. And what type of gun is this?
This is a Taurus G3 9mm pistol.
9mm.
Yes.
Does this gun shoot .40 caliber bullets?
No.
Okay. Were you involved in the search warrant of 855 Allison Way,
No.
the residence of Jeffrey Williams?
No.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Couple more questions. A 5.7 by 28 an FN gun, a 5.7. Would that shoot .40 caliber bullets?
I would not expect it to, no.
Okay.
I'm not a firearms expert or a ballistics expert.
Right.
But no, I would not expect, especially given those cartridge cases, the 5.7 cartridge cases that we recovered, or the one cartridge case I recovered, it was an elongated cartridge case versus a .40 caliber is much shorter.
And an FNX 45, would that shoot .40 caliber bullets?
I don't know what an FNX 45 is.
Okay. Let me just ask you this, would a 45 caliber handgun shoot .40 caliber bullets?
I would not expect it to.
Okay.
I suppose under like a perfect set of circumstances, you might be able to put a .40 caliber cartridge in a .45 caliber firearm, and it may, under the right set of circumstances, the firing pin might strike it in the right place, but I wouldn't suggest it, nor would I overtly expect it to fire that round.
At least not correctly.
Not correctly. I think it's a bad idea to try.
Yeah. Okay. Is it fair to say that you don't have any information about any guns ballistically matching the shooting of Shamel Drinks?
If I ever came across any information about any ballistic matches or NIBIN correlations, I listed some in my report that I wrote following this incident.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not those matched that shooting, I don't recall.
Okay.
And I did not conduct any follow-up investigation into any correlations that were made from anything found at Waters Road or elsewhere.
How about any of these guns matching the January 10, 2015 homicide of Donovan Thomas?
I'm not aware of any, if there were any NIBIN correlations to that incident, I'm unaware of them, and I did not conduct that investigation into the murder of Donovan Thomas.
Okay. One last thing. As part of your involvement in this case, did you ever get a chance to review? I know that we looked at photos from Windsor Street. Did you ever get a chance to review the surveillance video from the FedEx on Windsor Street?
I don't want to misspeak and say that I never saw it because I know, again, Al Hogan sat 2 seats in front of me.
Uh-huh.
It's possible at one point I saw it on his screen, but I have no recollection of ever seeing that video.
Okay. Did you ever speak to any FedEx employees and ask them to just describe what they saw on the video? Okay. All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, any redirect?
Brief redirect, John.
All right.
Detective Liam Packer, how many murders have you worked in your experience with Atlanta Police Department Homicide Unit?
I've worked on hundreds of homicides in my tenure with APD Homicide.
How often would you find the homicide suspects the murder weapon used in the murder?
Overruled.
It was more common to not find the firearm used in the offense. I have recovered weapons used in homicides, but I'd say it's far less common.
And on, do you know why that is?
Sustained.
Detective Liam Packer, on cross, you were asked a lot of questions about searching of a location in a phone. Do you recall that?
Searching a location of a phone?
A suspect searching a specific location in their cell phone.
Yes.
And you were also asked questions about if they were notified or hypothetically what someone knew. Do you remember that?
Yes.
If you had information that a possible homicide suspect was either at or within minutes at the scene and searched that location, how would you take that piece of information?
Sustained.
On cross-examination, do you remember Mr. Schardt asking you about 8 to 10 questions about searching a location of an incident?
Yes.
And how that would impact your investigation?
Yes.
With those line of questionings that you remember, how would it impact your calculus if the person that searched the location was on the scene when the murder happened?
I would perceive that as being intelligence gathering to determine what the police knew about the incident through media reporting. And if I obviously knew who my suspect was because I'm searching his or her phone, then I would incorporate that into a series of questions that I might ask that individual given the opportunity to interview them about their search of these items. It's not uncommon in my experience for people that have been determined to be involved in an incident to say that they had no involvement and they weren't there, and that they had little if no knowledge about the incident at all. So whether I confront them with the knowledge of knowing they searched about the incident and probably other evidence that suggests that they may have been at the scene and the duration of time that passed between the incident occurring and when the search occurred would all be things that I'd want to talk to that individual about.
One brief moment, Your Honor. Thank you, Detective Liam Packer. No further redirect by the state, Your Honor.
All right.
I'm glad you answered that last question. Said if you had a suspect that said they had no involvement and were not there, you'd think that's important.
Yes.
What about a suspect that says, I have no involvement, but yes, I was there. I was there. What if you have him on tape at a BP, crystal clear, wearing distinctive clothes, and he's not denying he's there? Would you make sure that you watch the surveillance video of the killing pretty darn carefully?
Yes, among other things, given that assertion made by that person, there's additional things that I would do as well.
You wouldn't just ask someone that works for a business with no law enforcement training, hey, tell me what seems to be going on your videotape that you have, would you? You would want to watch it for yourself, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You'd want to watch it several times for yourself, wouldn't you?
Probably yes.
You'd want to look for details that are important in that videotape, wouldn't you?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right. Let's take our lunch break. Thank you, Detective. You are excused. Thanks for your time. Let's take until 1:30.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, y'all should have copy. I received your proposed instruction, and I took a look at it and made some potential edits, and it's about to get sent to you. And we don't have to sort it out right now, but if y'all will take a look at that, see what you think, and then maybe we can come back at maybe 1:25 and put whatever on the record about that then. Okay?